Hey, how's it going YouTube, and welcome back to another Pixelmon video. In today's video, I am going to be showing you the greatest Pixelmon battle in the history of our Pixelmon tournaments. This is a different type of video, so if you do enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Perhaps I'll do more videos like this one, but without further ado, let's set the stage. The battle I am about to talk about is not one of my own, but it's instead the two players, Benny and Thigh. Two brothers that joined our Pixelmon Tournament in Season 2, and each had an incredible debut season. Now, it's already cool to think about them battling because, well, they're brothers. So when the bracket was going through in Season 2, Benny was actually one battle away before matching up against Thigh. However, I actually was the one who was able to defeat both of them, stopping the battle from happening. Then, in Season 3, they were actually placed sort of far, and they just never were able to make it to each other. So, this is a battle that has had 2 seasons of build-up. A battle that everyone had been waiting to see. And finally, in Season 4, it had arrived. Season 4 was the first unique season of our Pixelmon Tournament. Instead of 2 legendary slots, there were 0. And you were restricted to a team of 6 in whichever generation you were randomly given. In this case, Thigh received Generation 3 and Benny received Generation 8. Keep in mind this tournament is double elimination, so after Thigh lost in the quarterfinals, he was placed in the loser's bracket in round 5. Benny had fallen into the loser's bracket in round 2, but he was on a tear. He had been able to 2-0 everyone he had faced in this bracket, eliminating 3 players and earning his long-awaited battle against his brother. Now let's get on to the teams. Thigh's team consisted of Blaziken, Gardevoir, Metagross, Salamence, Milotic, Torkoal, a very well-made Generation 3 team that could easily shift tempo from fast-aggressive to slow, bulky. His Milotic actually had especially proven itself this tournament as a terrifying, it was able to spread status with Scald, Toxic, Recover, as well as Ice Beam coverage. However, Benny's team was very aggressive. It consisted of Rillaboom, Barraskewda, Cinderace, Sandaconda, Corviknight, and Galarian Slowking. Benny's team was, about the same balance as Thigh's, but it seemed a lot more on the aggressive side. And it had plenty of Dynamax options. Rillaboom loved a Dynamax, Barraskewda could set Max Geyser Rain for itself for Swift Swim, Cinderace loved Dynamax as well, the list goes on. Now, the teams looking against each other actually look very balanced with no super clear indication of a direction that it could go. And with battles best 2 out of 3, it was time for the first match to start. But before that, let's just recap everything real fast. It's 2 brothers playing against each other in the same room. There have been days of playful taunting and smack talk, and this battle has been earned by both players after going through 2 seasons, and everything is on the line. Whoever wins this continues their season run. Whoever loses this concludes their season run. With such a beautiful and intense stage set, the battle began. They open with Thigh leading Metagross and Benny leading Galarian Slowking. Metagross lands a huge Earthquake, but Galarian Slowking holds and hits a critical hit Flamethrower. A fantastic start for Benny, as he can switch, get HP back thanks to Regenerator. He does so and switches into Corviknight, but Thigh makes the read and uses Meteor Mash, getting the attack raised. However, Corviknight just walls Metagross, so he switches into Blaziken, who takes a big hit from Body Press. Keynote, this Blaziken doesn't have Speed Boost, it has Blaze. Thigh goes for the Thunder Punch, expecting a switch, but Benny calls it and keeps Corviknight, tanking the Thunder Punch, getting parried in the process, but it KOs Blaziken with Brave Bird. Thigh responds with Gardevoir and gets the Revenge KO with Mystical Fire. Benny then sends in Cinderace and uses Iron Head, but Thigh switches into Salamence. Benny swaps to Sandaconda, tanking a critical hit Stone Edge, but then Thigh just goes for Scald as Benny switches into Galarian Slowking, who gets burned. Then, Benny swaps again to Rillaboom, while Thigh goes for Scald, which doesn't get the burn this time. This was a huge risk for Benny, but it paid off. Rillaboom hits a Grassy Glide, and Thigh had stayed in, and the Milotic falls. Thigh then sends in Torkoal and goes for Lava Plume, but Benny pivots into the Galarian Slowking. Thigh switches into Salamence, but Benny had gone for Scald and landed the burn. Thigh then gone for Earthquake, but Benny swapped into Sandaconda, who easily ate it. Salamence goes for Dragon Claw as Sandaconda coils, and then eventually rests to restore HP, and then Shedskin wakes it up. It literally just coils as Salamence faints to the burn damage, and then Sandaconda is unstoppable with almost max attack, max defense, and max accuracy. Thigh sends in Torkoal, but it's too late. He Dynamaxes Torkoal and hits a huge max flare, but Benny had Gigantamax Sandaconda and used G-Max Sandblast. Torkoal lives on 3 HP, but the Sandblast damage finishes it off. Thigh then sends in Metagross, but it falls to Sandblast. Thigh sends in Gardevoir, but yet again, it's another victim to the Sandblast. Benny wins the battle, having him at 1-0. Battle 2 begins with Benny keeping the same Galarian Slowking lead, while Thigh leads Salamence. Thigh then lands a critical hit Earthquake, KOing the Galarian Slowking, getting revenge on last battle's Benny turn 1 crit. Benny then sends in Barraskewda. Benny goes for Ice Fang, but Thigh sends in Metagross to easily tank it. Barraskewda then goes for Liquidation, but Metagross tanks it yet again, and then hits hard with Psycho Cut, taking Barraskewda to 16%. Barraskewda gets one last Liquidation off before falling to the next Psycho Cut. Sandaconda comes out next, and Thigh now knows he has to respect it. He swaps to Milotic, which eats an Earthquake. Benny then switches to Corviknight, who takes damage from Scald and gets burned. Milotic then keeps scalding while Corviknight tries to get some damage off, but it eventually falls. Benny then sends in Rillaboom. Benny uses his Gigantamax here and G-Max Drum solos, but Thigh sends in Torkoal, who easily eats it. Thigh then Dynamaxes his own Torkoal and does huge damage with Max Flare while also eating Max Knuckle. It eats another before finishing Rillaboom off with Max Flare. Benny then sends in Sandaconda, but Torkoal shrugs off the Earthquake before KOing Sandaconda with a Max Flare crit. Cinderace then comes out and hits a crit Pyro Ball, but Torkoal holds and goes about 45% with Body Press. Cinderace gets the KO with Low Kick, but the damage has been done. Salamence comes in, tanks the Iron Head, and finishes the battle the same way it started. One last Earthquake. So this brings the battle 1-1. The next person who wins will move on to losers semifinals. Both players got extremely clean wins off each other, with having good luck on both ends, right? But they've also showed really all their tricks in their teams. So this is where the best battle really starts. Game 3. Winner continues their season, and the battle starts with Benny leading Rillaboom and Thigh leading Milotic. A brand new start for each player. Thigh pivots into Torkoal, but Rillaboom had used Knockoff, and it left Torkoal with no leftovers recovery. Benny then swaps into Galarian Slowking, who simply eats the Lava Plume. Thigh swaps into Salamence while Benny goes for Scald and doesn't get the burn. A risky play for Thigh, but it pays off. Thigh then sends in Torkoal, who eats the Body Press. Benny pivots into Galarian Slowking, who yet again eats the Lava Plume. The same play happens where Thigh swaps into Salamence, but Benny went for Scald and the burn, but it didn't happen. Benny then switches into Barraskewda, but Crunch takes it down to 12%. Thigh switches into Milotic and then goes for Toxic, but Benny switches into Galarian Slowking. Thigh needs to break this wall if he wants to win. He goes for Scald while Benny also goes for Scald. Thigh gets the burn while Benny doesn't. Benny then goes for multiple Sludge Bombs and doesn't get the poison, and Galarian Slowking is on 30%. He switches into Corviknight as Thigh uses Recover. Milotic then uses another Scald, but Benny swaps into Barraskewda, who gets KO'd. This sacrifice then allows Benny to get Rillaboom in safely. Thigh switches into Torkoal, tanks the Grassy Glide, and then goes for Lava Plume, but yet again, Benny switches into Galarian Slowking. As Benny goes for Scald, Milotic gets swapped in. The face-off comes back, Scald and Sludge Bombing against each other until finally Benny gets the poison. Benny then switches into Corviknight, but the Scald burns the Steel Bird. Then Benny switches into Galarian Slowking as Thigh switches into Torkoal. Thigh then switches into Salamence, but this time Benny Scald gets the burn. Benny switches into Sandaconda, who eats the Earthquake from the Dragon, but Thigh sends in Milotic next turn. Benny had double swapped, however, into Rillaboom. Thigh then panic switches into Salamence, but Rillaboom lands a critical hit Woodhammer, KOing the Dragon. Thigh swaps Torkoal, and then Benny switches into Galarian Slowking. Thigh then swaps into Milotic, tanking the Scald. Thigh goes for Recover as Benny goes for Sludge Bomb, and then Thigh swaps into Metagross, immune to the next Sludge Bomb that Benny had used. Thigh goes for Earthquake, but Benny switches into Corviknight. Both players here are playing at their peak, each predicting each other and taking risks at pivotal points and then playing safe. They are battling for an opening. Thigh sends in Blaziken, who shrugs off Body Press. Blaziken then hits a powerful Blaze Kick, KOing the Corviknight. Cinderace comes out next as Thigh sends in Milotic. Cinderace hits a hard-hitting Low Kick. That, as well as the poison damage, is enough to take out Milotic the following turn with one more Low Kick. Blaziken returns to the field. It hits a hard-hitting close combat after narrowly surviving Benny's Gigantamax Cinderace Max Knuckle. Without the Gigantamax, the Cinderace would for sure have been KO'd. Cinderace uses another Max Knuckle and KOs Blaziken, putting it at a +2 attack. But it's not over. Thigh sends in Torkoal. He Dynamaxes the Torkoal, who tanks the following Max Knuckle and hits a Max Flare, but Cinderace holds on with 12%. Benny then hits a hard Pyro Ball, but the Torkoal holds and KOs Cinderace with another Max Flare. Rillaboom is now on the field, and with Torkoal at low HP, one knockoff finishes it off. Thigh sends in Metagross. Metagross tanks the knockoff and hits back with a hard-hitting Meteor Mash, but the Rillaboom lives on 10%. One last knockoff and then it finishes the battle. Benny had won after the most intense battle we have ever seen. The dust settles and the score is 2-1. Benny continues his Season 4 run. So why do I believe that this is the best Pixelmon battle we have seen so far? Simple. This was peak Pokemon battling at its finest. Both players played extremely well in all 3 games, with all games having their insane pop-off moments, but the last battle especially came down to the wire, with no true clear winner in sight. Both Benny and Thigh played at their absolute best, and not to mention the story behind this battle makes it that much more exciting. It's one of those battles that you watch and it makes you want to battle. It honestly made me remember why I got into competitive Pokemon. For battles like that. Battles that are close, intense, and maybe even have a great story to them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I want to give a special thanks to Benny and Thigh for not only putting on a fantastic show with their battles, but also allowing me to make this video. Congrats to both of you guys, you both had an incredible Season 4 run, and that battle was just competitive Pokemon at its peak. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more awesome Pixelmon content, leave a like and comment below your favorite Pokemon in the battle. Also, check out one of these videos here, as well as this full playlist of videos I have on competitive Pixelmon Tournament runs. And this did take place in Season 4, which I was a part of. So stay tuned for my own Pixelmon Season 4 video. And until next time, I'll see you there. Have a good one.